hold on. Peggy, is the elevator not working?
I don't know.
Oh.
Greg's out there trying to get someone up, but,
Yeah, I just sent it back down.
you know, gotta accommodate for ADA.
Hold on.
Send it back down. Greg's out there.
Unfortunately, I had already hit the live. I apologize.
That's fine. Hopefully it will be resolved. We have a citizen that's trying to get in. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 29th, 2024 meeting, special city commission meeting of the Lake Worth Beach City Commission. May we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Betty Rush,
Here.
Vice Mayor Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McVoy,
Here.
Commissioner Mimi May,
Present.
Commissioner Ronaldo Diaz.
Here. Good evening, everyone. Vice Mayor Sarah Maliga will.
Come in here. United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Tonight we have the special meeting. Thank you, Greg, for helping. Tonight we have a special meeting regarding resolution 46-2024, which is the determination that the unsolicited proposal from Sunshine Lake Worth Development LLC for the K Street parking garage serves the public interest. It's a second publicly noticed meeting. And I have asked our attorney and Mr. Brown to lay out exactly what is on, what tonight is and what it's not. Thank you.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, Christy Gall on behalf of the City of Lake Worth Beach. So tonight is the second part of the consideration of an unsolicited proposal that the city received, which is related to the WMOTA project, which you approved the development agreement at the last meeting, October 15th, and presented this unsolicited proposal at the October 15th meeting for public comment. That is the very first step in what is called the Public-Private Partnership Statute. It's section 255.065 Florida statute. Tonight's meeting is the second step in that process for an unsolicited proposal. I'm back up for a second. The Public-Private Partnership Statute has been around for a while. The way that it initially worked was that if you received an unsolicited proposal or the city had an idea about a public-private partnership, you either had to put it out to bid through your own city procurement process, or if you received an unsolicited proposal, you then had to put that unsolicited proposal out for a bid and let others bid on the same type of proposed idea. In 2024, the Florida legislature changed the statute to allow for a city to move forward with an unsolicited proposal without going out for a competitive process, whether your own city procurement process or through another type of competitive process through the statute. The reason the state legislature did that was because it realized that sometimes an unsolicited proposal is the best proposal. And why should a city have to go through a procurement process when it receives the best proposal up front? So what we're doing tonight is following that new process under the Florida statute, which is two steps. The first step you just had on October 15th, and that was presenting the unsolicited proposal to the public and allowing public comment. Tonight is the second step. The second step, as the mayor read it from the agenda, is to make a determination whether that unsolicited proposal for the parking garage will be in the public's interest. And laid out in the agenda memo, there's 5 different factors that have to be considered in making that determination. The resolution that is with this agenda item, resolution 46-2024, it addresses those factors as well based on some of the information that you heard at the first meeting, October 15th, and also a lot of the information that is actually in the unsolicited proposal. So this is your opportunity to make that decision tonight and determine whether or not there's a public interest. If you make that determination, what that does is that requires city staff and any of our consultants to engage with WMOTA to start developing a comprehensive agreement. The comprehensive agreement by statute has to have a laundry list of factors that are in the agreement and further factors that this commission will consider when it comes back to you. Because keep in mind, tonight's decision is not a decision that we are building this parking garage. Tonight is a decision, there's a public interest that will be served by the parking garage, so let's take the next step to developing a comprehensive agreement. Comprehensive agreement would be developed, we bring it back to the city commission. Again, you have an opportunity to say yay or nay to that comprehensive agreement. Comprehensive agreement addresses all the things that you would normally address in a construction agreement, but it also by statute has to include other things. Financial feasibility, the wherewithal, the performance bond, the insurance, everything that you normally would require in a city construction project. And since this will be city property that this is being built on, it will require a public construction bond to give you further assurances that this project can actually be constructed. So again, tonight is the second step in the process. It's not the last step in the process. It's just moving the potential project forward.
And my understanding is that it doesn't commit us to anything, actually. It doesn't commit us to a financial agreement. It doesn't, this can all, if we find out that this is just allowing us to talk to them about the potential to do this. Is that correct?
Well, that's correct. And what it does is it allows us to start putting down the paper and documenting a comprehensive agreement of how this thing will actually be constructed, the specific financials and support for how the city will pay for this in part.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brown, do you have anything to add?
No, Madam Attorney covered it pretty well.
Okay, great,
Yep.
thank you. Mr. Diaz? Well, I just was before word help comment, but there's a lot of people, obviously.
Yeah.
If you have some,
I just had a really quick comment. More than really well, I think in the last meeting where we talked about this, I had suggested or asked for a really good explanation at each step of the way of exactly where we're at and what we're voting on and what it means. And, can we vote to have Christie do all of them? Because that was.
and I think this, I mean, it's a lot, but, and Mr. Brown sent an email on the 18th, I believe it was to all of us regarding this, which fully explained what's going on. It was very helpful. So we have, I'm sure, quite a few. If you want to make a comment, pro or against it, you have to have a blue card and hand it in. There are also some, the clerk has some to read. How many blue cards do we have? Oh, okay.
Madam Mayor, just want to make sure too, I think a lot of people are here for the actual meeting that was supposed to be at 6, that is now at 7.
Right. The electric utility meeting, some of our staff is here. I don't know if any public's here for that particular meeting. We had a special meeting for this from 6 to 7, and then the utility meeting will start after that. So if you're only here for the utility meeting, get a cup of coffee. Read your Kindle.
The angry bird.
So my suggestion, I see your light is on this one, but my suggestion is that we hear from the public first, because there are quite a few people and we have an hour, it's getting literally start. We can, adjust for that, but, and then I know there's about 11 public comments on the web. So, my suggestion, if there are reasons is to go ahead, let the public speak. I see your light is on, but I think,
I would like to speak, please. I have a question for the attorney.
okay,
I want to make sure that I understand correctly a piece of the procedure, and I'm reading to my knowledge from statute 255.065. If the responsible public entity, that's the commission, decides to proceed with an unsolicited proposal without engaging in a public bidding process, which I believe implies that we could if we wanted to, the commission must publish in the Florida Administrative Register for at least 7 days a report that includes all of the following: the public interest determination that we would make here, the factors considered in making such a public interest determination. We have to say what we're basing it on. We can't just say, hey, we think it's in the public interest. And the response, the commission's findings based on each considered factor. And am I correct also in understanding that of the 5 things that we are to consider as a commission, as the public entity, the qualifications and experience of the private entity that the solicitor is a portion? Thank
Yes, and so the resolution that you have before you, resolution 462024, will essentially be that report. Because there's not a requirement in the statute of what that report looks like. And I've gone to the Federal Registry or the Florida Registry to look for a report like that. Haven't found any yet. So since you make sort of your temporary declarations by resolution for the city, I thought that's the best way for the city to make its determination. So that essentially, if it passes tonight, your resolution becomes a report that we will publish in the Florida Registry for the statute.
Thank you. Okay, so, public comment. Again, if you have a comment, if you're, please have a blue card. First up is Ryan Oblender.
Yeah, that'd be right.
What?
Yeah, we need to-
Oh, I'm sorry. Ryan Oblender, 1702 North 8th Street. I am for the proposed parking garage, unsolicited or not. I am sure our electeds have done their due diligence. By 2030, we will be glad to have one. Okay, then we have Jenny Powell, followed by Peggy Fisher, followed by Greg Richter. Hello?
Jenny Powell, 224 North Palm Way. I don't think we have enough information to justify the garage. And therefore I don't think it serves the public interest. Instead, I think we should implement other options to address a perceived parking problem. As far as I know, none of the options I'm about to say have been implemented. They've been talked about. But yet they're all more fiscally responsible than a garage. They are implement paid parking and on-demand parking. Develop web-based wayfinding signage so that folks, especially non-residents, can find parking on existing streets, surface lots, and in the Bohemian garage. Implement Vice Mayor Maliga's suggestion to hire a person with a twirly sign to direct traffic to the Bohemian garage. That people laughed at that, but it's not crazy. I mean, add it in everything else. Publicize our very own, very cool ride share service, the Circuit. Expand the service area and extend hours on Friday and Saturday evenings. You have the power to ask the remote developer to build fewer units so that they can accommodate all residents and museum guests on site. Giving developers everything they want sets a terrible precedent. I also have concerns this public-private partnership will be a jumping off point for you to give away even more valuable city property. Will our beach complex be on the table in exchange for a developer agreeing to give us a pool? I'm concerned. Please vote no on the K Street garage.
Thank you. Up next, Peggy Fisher, followed by Todd Townsend. Oh, no, followed by Greg Richter, followed by Tom Townsend. Todd.
Peggy Fisher, North 8th Street. I support this resolution before you, both for the museum complex and for the parking garage. I believe when there was a meeting of business owners from downtown, specifically to talk about parking, there was a lot of comments in favor of this parking garage. This is our downtown business owners, and they are asking for it. And unfortunately, if we don't listen to our business owners, they may go somewhere else. We already have a lot of empty space on our downtown, in our downtown, and we want to make more empty space to have more non-revenue. Let's talk about empty space at the casino building that's been there for 12 years. How much has that lost the city in rent, parking revenue, utility payments? That's a lot of money. 12 years of no rent is a lot of money, and that's not very physically responsible, especially when one member of you has been on that dais for 10 and a half of those 12 years. That's pretty physically irresponsible. Why isn't there a CO for the casino? We are picking and choosing what we want to be physically responsible about or municipally responsible about. This is a project that our businesses and a lot of our residents want. And to talk about people not knowing about it, well, it wasn't mentioned at a district meeting held on July 27th with a particular district. It wasn't even brought up. So if the commissioners aren't going to talk about it to residents, then how do you expect people to know about it? Again, I support this. And as someone told me, how can
Thank you, that's
complain
time.
about a museum?
Thank you. Thank you. Up next is Greg Richter, followed by Todd Townsend, followed by David Sims.
Good evening, Greg Richter, 1202 South Palmway. Great to see you all again. First of all, I really appreciate Christie's comments ahead of time, really clarifying this. I haven't agreed with Ronaldo on this. Yeah, why don't you get involved in all of this? Because it really was a clarity. I've said it 3 times I've done it before. This is a process, step in the process, and that's what we're doing tonight. This is, you know, and anybody to think that we don't need parking downtown, you're not going downtown. I mean, I'm sorry, the business owners are dying to get more parking. We have, and we have empty storefronts. This project, overall project, will help fill those storefronts. Where are the people going to park? So there, this again, it's a process. This is an opportunity. Carpe diem.
Thank you very much, Todd Townsend, followed by David Sims. We'll give you guys fair warning, come on. And then Drew Bartlett.
Hi, Todd Townsend, 502 South J Street. I just wanted to really quickly say that I think that we should really get serious about an outreach as far as the public. Like, let's do a pamphlet that we can send out to all of the stakeholders or just everybody who lives in this town, so that it's not just the same group of people having the big yay or nay as far as what we're doing. So, you know, I think, and the other thing is, I think that the public should be deciding what happens, what our town looks like, not crafty salespeople coming in. And that's all I wanted to say. So yes, we should do a pamphlet and get the entire public involved. So that's all I want to say. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Up next is David Sims. Let's hold our applause for everybody, please, either whatever, which way.
David Sims, 715 North L. I was listening to a recording, partial recording of a meeting, and it was about budget issues. Previously, the mayor was asking the finance director about how much we spent on the Bohemian Garage. It was $2.46 million and $90,000 a year in maintenance. Commissioner Maligos egging people on to use that parking garage, which gives you an idea how empty it was. The city manager said it was a great deal for somebody else. Okay, so we spent a lot of money on a parking garage because there was a building next to it that needed resident parking. And we spent a lot of money on it and we weren't getting much returns. So there was the decision process on that one wasn't very good. And I think it should be a little bit better on this one. I think there should be more scrutiny. There needs to be more evidence that the proposed 8 million or so we're going to spend on this garage will ultimately serve the public interests. And I'm not sure that's been demonstrated. I would really ask if you don't approve to move forward yet until we are more sure that it does solve the public interest.
Thank you. Drew Bartlett, followed by Bruce Lander.
Hello, Drew Bartlett, 211 North L. I came to actually give her briefing, so I don't need to do that anymore. But I am part of a different government organization. We just adopted our policy on unsolicited proposals. And what I wanted to point out was these 2 public hearings serve another purpose as well, and that's to see if there's any other companies that want to build the project instead of the company that's offering the project. So it's kind of how to put the competition and solicitation idea back in it. You can either solicit or have two public hearings. But I would imagine if you solicited for a company that said, is there a company out there that would donate $1 million, provide discount financing and build a garage for us on an expedited schedule? I'm not sure you'd get any respondents because that's what, who would do that, right? They're there to make money. So look at the studies, talk to the businesses about the public interest. But to me, this kind of deal that's being presented to you is also a city interest, it's a fiscal interest, because I don't think a opportunity like this will come around again. So I'm supportive. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lander. Followed by Deborah Roberts. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Helander, former resident of Lake Worth Beach and College Park on Auburn Drive. I am very interested in the vitality of Lake Worth Beach, which has always been a favorite city. I've been to the Cultural Council for many, many years. I was on the board of directors of the Armory Arts Center, Center for Creative Education. And thank you. And so I want to speak about the vitality and the value that a project like this comes to a town like Lake Worth Beach, sorry. And there must be 1,000 cities like this that would want to have, literally, to me, sounds like a gift from the heavens, a great museum, somebody who wants to share a lifetime of collecting with the community that would be responsive. I remember I arrived here in 1983 and the North Museum was struggling because they have shows, but there's no place to park. I've been down the main drag here many, many times where I've nearly given up on parking. I was here once with Dale Chihuly and we were going to look into the secondhand stores and whatever, and we couldn't find a place to park. So the idea that you're bringing a museum of high level, distinguished, high scholarship, that will be also a learning experience for the community, something they can go to. But contrary to the lady who first spoke that said, maybe the idea is have somebody, waving people coming in the doors and going down 2 streets here and whatever. There ain't no spots that I can find. You can have anything that you want out there, but and you can point them in all kinds of directions. And a lot of people don't want to park on the side streets. People want to come to a museum, want to go to an opening, want to go to a lecture, be able to park there and be on their way. So I just think I think it's just a great thing for Lake Worth, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Deborah Roberts. And that's all the blue cards I have from the audience. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Hi, Deborah Robert, 127 South K Street. Absolutely for this garage. I believe that it would be great just to open the door for the process and then, see how we do as we go. I like kind of Jenny's idea about for right now, at certain peak times, it might be good to have a little bit of assistance with getting people parking spaces at the moment. But I'm looking 5 years down the road. 5 years down the road, if we don't have this in process now, we're going to be in trouble. The Bohemian, I strongly believe, once we start flushing out the rest of the downtown and that corridor over by Matthews starts flushing out, becomes a little bit more of a funky area, we're going to need the Matthews garage. It's just a matter of time. Thank goodness we have it now, although it's a little awkward. I understand the cost, but I think it will come into play in very short order. A lot of businesses that I've heard from there come from up in West Palm Beach and like that, don't consider this area because they love the storefronts. They're gorgeous, they're empty, but there's no place to park. You get a restaurant in like Rocco Taco, they average 400 plates a night. There's nowhere for them to park. They won't even consider downtown right now. Now think of an antique store or anything else. Nobody's going to invest in the city until they know that there's places for folks to park. I live right downtown, 10 houses away from Lilo's. I see it all the time. It may not be in the mornings or afternoons or a Wednesday night, but sometimes a Thursday night. If I didn't, luckily I have a driveway, I do have that disclaimer, but there's nowhere for my neighbors to park. They park in mine because they can't find in front of their own home. So that is something to think about from 3 blocks up and 3 blocks down even now in our border. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, you're on.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Just a second, let me pull him up. Mr. Sam Goodstein submitted a comment to me, but he is live, so I didn't know if he wanted to read his own comment. He said that he wanted the city to read it before I start.
You good, is that Ms. Sam, Mr. Goodstein?
Yes,
I'm fine with you reading it.
not a problem.
Okay.
Sorry, the first comment that I have is from Catherine Nolan. It's in Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, I am writing to request the delay in considering Resolution number 46-2024 regarding the Sunshine Lake Worth Development LLC proposal for the K Street parking garage. Due to the concerns about transparency, outdated information, and fiscal responsibility, the absence of detailed architectural renderings for the garage hampers the community's ability to assess its impact on our historic downtown. The project's vague visual elements thus far prioritize cost efficiency and rapid construction over unique features and thoughtful design that would preserve our downtown's character and future value. Furthermore, the reassessment of parking needs since 2018 study does not seem to be publicly available, raising concerns about the proposal's relevance. Additionally, WMOTA's project development projections in the backup lacked detailed data and analysis, leading to questions about fiscal responsibility and the potential inefficient use of public funds. I urge the Commission to postpone action until the detailed renderings, an updated parking assessment, and a comprehensive fiscal analysis are provided for public review. Thank you for your consideration. The next comment that I have is Amy Mihalik. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I would like to see more research done before committing such a large amount of public funds to this project. We have a parking garage at the Bohemian. How much would it cost to put better signage up for that, to make the crosswalk at Dixie and Lake Avenue more pedestrian friendly, to add a pedestrian crossing at Dixie and First Avenue South, to have shuttles operating from there to downtown, etc. If the Bohemian garage is fully utilized, would there still be a parking need for downtown? Please weigh all options. The next comment that I have is from Wes Blackman, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. As a long-term resident of Lake Worth Beach and someone who lived on First Avenue South for 4 years, I am here tonight to voice my strong support for the proposed K Street parking garage project. First and foremost, this project addresses the critical need in our community. We all know parking downtown is a nightmare, especially during peak hours. The 2018 parking study clearly showed we were already short at least 150 parking spaces. That was before considering potential growth. The garage, with its 291 spaces, will not only replace the spots lost to construction, but provide a much needed surplus. Think about the impact this will have. It will make it easier for residents to enjoy all that our downtown has to offer. From our fantastic restaurants and shops to our vibrant arts and culture scene, it will also make it more attractive for visitors to spend their time and money here, boosting our local businesses and economy. And let's not forget the financial benefits of this proposal. Thanks to the partnership with Sunshine Lake Worth Development, the city and the CRA are estimated to save over $2 million compared to financing and building the garage alone. That's significant. This public-private partnership allows us to achieve a vital community goal while also being fiscally responsible. Furthermore, the developers Use of construction manager at risk approach will ensure cost control and transparency throughout the project. This safeguards our taxpayer dollars and guarantees the project stays on budget and on schedule. In conclusion, the K Street parking garage is a win-win for our city. It addresses a long-standing parking shortage, provides significant financial benefits, and will stimulate our downtown economy. I urge you to approve Resolution 46, 2024 and move forward with this much-needed project. Thank you. The next comment I have is from Todd Kimberlane, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and fellow residents. I am here to express my concerns regarding the proposed second parking garage for our city. While I understand that addressing parking needs is important, I have some serious reservations about moving forward with such a costly and impactful project without the proper justification. To start, has a recent parking needs assessment been completed? There is an understanding among many residents that one has, but it has not been widely shared. I believe the community would benefit from seeing the findings of any such study to help us better understand the need for this project. Additionally, has the city explored all other potential alternatives to building another garage? Given the financial commitment and long-term implications of such a project, it would be valuable to ensure that all options have been thoroughly considered. A parking garage will have a lasting impact on our city's historic character, and it's important to reflect on whether this aligns with the vision we all share for Lake Worth Beach. Lastly, we need to take a step back and think about the long-term financial implications of this project. Will this investment truly benefit our city, or will it become a burden on taxpayers and future generations? I hope we can take a thoughtful approach to this decision and ensure that the community remains involved and informed throughout the process. Thank you for your time. The next comment I have is from Kim Stokes, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, you're getting ready to accept an unsolicited proposal tonight that involves a major financial commitment from the city. This is a very unconventional way to decide to build a parking garage, so I would hope that you would take extra caution when deciding if this is right for the city. Less than a week ago, I downloaded the backup for this item, and the only documents were the resolution you would be agreeing to and the proposal submitted by the developer. At some point, the city must have added the parking study and downtown master plan, but I have not had time to review the parking study because there was no indication on the website that the agenda packet had been revised, which makes me wonder if you have had time to give it the attention it deserves. But the documents I am most concerned about are those that would clearly spell out all the financial components of this project. While the developer has listed what they are proposing and are the cost and benefits, that is insufficient. A cost-benefit analysis would be done by an independent qualified individual who would be working on behalf of the city. There is no long-term modeling for this project to see if it is financially feasible. I think at the minimum, you should know if you are going to be operating this structure at a loss before committing to building it, fund it, maintain, and operate it. Lastly, how do you even know if you can afford this project? I would expect each of you to want at least some preliminary analysis along with funding options before moving this forward, especially considering the reaction you all had to the financial obligations for another parking garage at the Bohemian. I didn't hear very many thoughtful questions coming from the dais the first time you heard this item, but I did hear lots of jokes about painting the parking garage pink. The next one I have is from Michael McLeod, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. In front of the commission is the question whether spending and subsidizing the construction of another parking garage in downtown Lake Worth Beach serves the public interest. The answer must be a resounding no. Given the existence of the underutilized Bohemian and no credible evidence or studies showing that existing available public lots and street parking inadequately meet current parking demand, having a parking problem would be a good thing for Lake Worth Beach, as it would mean the city has succeeded in creating a vibrant, attractive commercial and entertainment district with a compelling set of options to repeatedly explore. Unfortunately, at the moment, that is not so. Commissioners and the city manager and planner should be more focused on solving problems that are affecting the ability to attract and keep dynamic businesses to and in downtown, so that Lake Worth Beach does develop a parking problem that justified today's discussion. The approach of building excess supply for a yet realized demand and hoping it will spur development would appear discredited by results from the Bohemian Garage. What is the justification for doubling down on such an approach? Can Lake Worth Beach citizens conclude that the city's investment in the Bohemian Garage serves their interest? Lastly, if a garage will be built, it must be mixed use with activated street level uses and designed to complement the surrounding architecture. The next comment is from Suki DeJong, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. An underground parking garage in downtown Lake Worth is a really bad idea. Please don't approve this. First of all, we don't need a parking garage. Anyone can find a free parking space within 3 blocks of downtown on the busiest Saturday night. The bank parking lots are all also open for free parking. Folks are thinking because they can't park outside the venue of their choice that we need more parking, but that's not true. It will be the same inconvenience of having to walk a few blocks with a parking garage and will undoubtedly cost money. In fact, this whole project is way too big for our city. Thank you. The next comment that I have is from Giovanna Dominguez Timor, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. It is imperative that any venture involving public money be studied and carefully evaluated from every possible perspective, as we would each of us do if only our personal sacrifice of land and personal investment were involved. This gargantuan project involving public land and requiring public funds must be analyzed carefully and utilizing perspectives outside our circles while preventing our views to color our judgment. This is a huge undertaking that will impact many people within our small city for a long time, and that requires utmost care. It is my considered opinion that due diligence has not been exercised on behalf of every resident, and that our commission therefore needs to work towards this effort. Thank you. The next one that I have is Alexander Katakis, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Dear Mayor, Commissioners, and neighbors, I am against the mayor and commissioners voting in favor tonight of authorizing the construction of a massive structure in the heart of our historic downtown. A structure which to date I have not seen a rendering of. Furthermore, there is parking a couple of blocks west at the Bohemian, which can be utilized by guests to our city. On WMOTA's website, they list the K Street parking garage can be used by residents of Lake Worth. Instead of a behemoth in our historic and unique downtown, the city's funds could be better spent by more public transportation for residents to get from home to downtown. I've heard WMOTA and supporters of the parking garage say ad nauseum that the garage will further our quality of life. There is nothing further from the truth. Having hundreds of cars jamming our small roads to park in this garage will worsen our quality of life. Florida is a home to a fast shrinking number of historic, cute downtowns and neighborhoods. Please do not add Lake Worth to that list. The next comment I have is from Joe Carlin, Lake Worth Beach. How unfortunate that the CRA has prevailed with the takeover of Old Town neighborhood of Lake Worth Beach. This iconic neighborhood, a most noteworthy example of the adorableness of our adorable city, and the most exemplary example of our brand of 20th century South Florida beach vernacular architecture, has been co-opted, ruined, destroyed by the very agency that is chartered with the responsibility of fostering and stewarding our brand and the historic character and nature of our unique specimen of a city in all of Florida and all of the world. Mr. Weiner and his world-class multi-story museum, apartment building, and parking garage is suited to inhabit the hatch or any structure or grouping of structures on Dixie Highway. This plan is completely inappropriate for our historic, charming, small downtown neighborhood and streets. The idea of parking buildings is so not world-class, so 1970s, and a disgrace for a modern day city. Urban planners in Europe and the East are getting away from the automobile, shifting towards more humane and user-friendly options, including the gondola I proposed in 2 separate presentations in these very chambers. Dave Chihuly was my teacher in art school before his glass eye. I know his work since the 1970s. It is all over the place. World-class and not so world-class museums all over the place showcase him. Great project for Dixie or a main corridor. Fill it with our vibrant local artists. Stop giving away millions of dollars to developers and slumlords who want their legacy and name filling the consciousness of unexpected art appreciators, and spend millions on the new pool. The last comment I have is from Sam Goodstein, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. This is a bad idea. The parking garage would use space that 20 years from now the city will look at and wish it could put into residential use. It allows us to avoid a difficult conversation about metering downtown with a demand response app system. It probably delays the residential parking permit issue, which will come eventually. If it turns out to be attractive to passerbyers, that'll be surprising. And if putting a park on top of it is attempted, let alone successful, I'll be doubly so. But I have to acknowledge that public demand is pretty much unified for it, and lately being a part of a system that honors the consent of the governed has been on my mind. I also know our city is not going to be able to afford a garage except with the circumstances that have come together with WMODA as a partner. And you don't get a second bite at that apple. I suppose Eve knew that. That's the last comment I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, it's 6:47. We started about 50. Mr. Brown has his light on.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, we do have, Renee Miller and multiple people from, WMODA on, I know this is more of a city conversation, but should any of your questions require, answers from them, they are available online. We also have William Waters and Executive Director Jonah Lieber from the CRA here, as well as our finance director in the back. So we kind of have a lot of people, depending on where your questions go. So I
Okay,
just wanted
thank
to mention
you.
that.
Before we do anything, I need a motion and a second.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this item until we have followed in writing the recommendations of the Government Finance Officers Association of how to deal with P3 agreements.
Is there a second? Calling again for a second. The motion failed for lack of a
Motion
second.
to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner May. And then we'll have discussion. So, got a lot of lights on. And now let's talk about time. It's 6:48. We started at 6:15, so we need to make accomplish this for that. So we've got a half an hour before we go to workshop. So that's within a half an hour. There's 5 of us, 5 minutes each. And then if there's more time, and if somebody doesn't use their time, we can go back. So Madam Clerk, will you keep the time for us for 5 minutes?
I will, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, everyone has their light on. So let's start with District 1.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as somebody who attended the P3 workshop that VOCA held 2.5 months ago, I've compared everything that I was taught at that workshop and that seminar to the process that we're going through, and I feel comfortable as an elected saying that we're very much in line with where we're supposed to be. I do also want to reiterate that as somebody who had a business downtown, and the only reason I had my business downtown is because I was able to convince the business owner who had the building to rent it to me because it had its own parking lot. Otherwise, I wouldn't have came to Lake Worth Beach 13 years ago, and that's a fact. Because you can't have a business especially a service business, where people can't have access. So I will say in my professional opinion, that statement was said earlier, it is 100% accurate that when you are a business and you're looking for a viable space, you not just want visibility on the street, you want people to say, oh, I want to go in there, and then not drive 3 more blocks and say, you know what, forget it, I'm not going to turn around. So that's a fact, right? A couple nights ago, I was downtown and I saw somebody parking in said parking lot, which they didn't belong in, to walk across the street to a restaurant. So that parking lot is not paid for in high-end rent to then help other businesses in town So there is a problem, right? When businesses who do have parking have to fight to keep those spots for themselves. We have 65 spots tentatively that we're gonna lose, but we're also gonna gain between 265 to 291 spots in this garage. Where the study showed that we needed 250 is what we were short. And that's without filling all those empty spaces and bringing in more people to the downtown. I'm in support of the next step. I'm in support of a garage for the downtown. I think that we need this for all the businesses to flourish. And when businesses flourish, people gain employment. When people gain employment, they spend money in the economy and it just goes full circle. So I support this and I don't have any questions. Thank you to Christy again for a very clear description on the step that we're in. And thank you to staff and to the CRA and to the Weiner Museum of Designing Arts or Decorative Arts for going along this ride with us and bringing it to us.
Thank you. Madam, District Two.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My understanding is that Robert's rules allow me 10 minutes, so I ask not to be interrupted while I have the floor.
Well,
which
I
believe
have-
is the rules of Robert rules, so
Well-
let's start right at the beginning.
Well, no, please stop for just a second. I don't want to speak over you, but we have a limited time. We have a limited
that-
time,
Robert's
and-
rules doesn't say anything
Show
about
me
it.
the Robert's rule.
Robert's rules allows 10 minutes.
Show me the
My-
Robert's rule.
In any case, I ask not
You
to
have
be
5
interrupted.
minutes.
Can I have a clarification from the attorney on Robert's rules? Does it allow 10 minutes?
Robert's rules provides for different time limits depending on what type of assembly you are. If there's a time limit that the chair has set for your meeting, you can challenge the chair's time setting of comments provided. That's allowed through Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, I do challenge that, but I will proceed with my
Well, let's
comments.
have a motion then. Let's go ahead and handle it. Motion, is there consensus to limit ourselves to 5 minutes each unless there's other time?
Nay.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'll say nay.
Okay, so it's 3-2, so it's 5 minutes.
Residents, business owners, and commissioners, we are convened here under Florida Statute 255.065 to make a determination that this unsolicited proposal for a paid parking garage is in the public interest. I firmly believe that we are being reckless. We are rushing to repeat exactly what the mayor, only in April past, chastised the previous commission for. $2.5 million in capital for a parking garage with more than $144K per year for 30 years, and it is empty. I understand that we are following the letter of statute 255.065. I also understand that the rest of the commission has chosen to cut corners on due diligence and on following recommended best practices. I firmly believe that as a commission, it is our duty to exercise the best possible fiscal responsibility with public funds and public lands. Normally, governments use competitive public bidding processes to safeguard the spending of taxpayer monies. The unsolicited proposal process has much fewer guardrails. And instead of therefore feeling a heightened responsibility to provide those safeguards, some on the commission have chosen to minimize the protections. We could choose, even within the unsolicited proposal process, to select our private partner through a competitive public bidding process. For some reason, we are choosing not to. This means that there is no open competition to assure that our city gets the best ideas, that shortcomings are brought to light, that we get the best price. There is no requirement to provide examples of similar past projects, reviews of those projects, nor even references that can be called. The Government Finance Officers Association advises caution with P3s, public-private partnerships, stating they can be risky for the public partner. I now ask my fellow commissioners the best practice questions that the GFOA recommends. Where is the open competition to choose the best private partner? Where is the financial risk and legal analysis comparing the P3 to a public sector alternative? Where is the independent third-party analysis of the P3 to verify revenue projections, demand, and other assumptions? Where is the clear statement of project risk? Where is the evidence that key stakeholders, including us, fully understand these risks? Why have community meetings not been held once the written plan became available? Where is the evaluation of alternatives? Where are the low-cost pilot projects that would provide actual data? And some additional questions we should be asking. What is the rush? Where is the independent information on qualifications and experience of the developer? Part of the state statute that we're supposed to base our determination. When in the process will we vote to allocate city funds? Where will those funds come from? What other city priorities will the garage starve for funds? The pool, a parks master plan, road repairs? The lack of due diligence in allocating public funds, public lands and public monies is dizzying. Recall that this garage will necessarily be paid parking, which means no one will use it if you can park on the street for free. So let's be clear, folks. Commissioners voting for this Trojan horse garage are voting to impose on our city paid downtown street parking without analysis or public discussion. And at the end, why are we always here in Lake Worth? Poor me, if only some developer would please come here. We've become the city in Palm Beach County who scammers call and we say, would you like our bank account number? Or just a credit card number? Let's have some respect for ourselves, people. Let's do this right.
Thank you. District 3?
Thank you. So Christy, can you confirm again, just exactly what is today's step? Does it have anything to do with the design or the specific, agreements to pay for anything at any point today?
No, tonight's meeting is just for your determination whether the unsolicited proposal that's been presented now at the second meeting satisfies a public interest. Like I said earlier, we then start engaging, if it's approved tonight, engaging with the developer of a comprehensive agreement and addressing all the things that would normally be addressed. We can address other things if the commission desires some more of a financial analysis, some more of a review of that. We can engage in that. Your comprehensive agreement, the whole reason the statute calls it a comprehensive agreement is because it engages all those things that have been talked about tonight. Making sure that going through this process, that we have the revenue, the right sources to pay for it, that we've got a construction management firm and a contractor that are going to provide, a quality project. All those things will be vetted through this process. Bring that back to you for your consideration. You're not committed to anything until you bring that comprehensive agreement back, and this commission looks at it, makes sure, the questions that can reasonably get answered, and then you decide whether to actually move forward with putting, shovels in the ground.
Thank you. I actually was at the, Chihuly Museum of, Garden, what is it called? Glass and Garden Museum yesterday in Seattle. And the docent knew about our town and knew that we were getting this installment. That's pretty crazy. I mean, she was just the docent explaining all of the art. And it's pretty incredible. And I know we're not voting on that tonight. However, it does show the enormity of this project and the ability for our city to be on the map as the arts center of Palm Beach County. And if we are that, people are going to want to come here. If they come here, they're going to want somewhere to park. And it is also my understanding that previous to any discussion of WMODA, there was a discussion of having a parking garage in downtown Lake Worth Beach. Therefore, this is not, I mean, it is an unsolicited response. However, it's not an unsolicited need. We've been saying that we are going to have to at some point put a parking garage. So for those two reasons, I'm for this project and I think it does meet the community's needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dean?
So we have a process here. We have it's governed by state statute, happens to do that. I'm definitely sympathetic to the concerns and the comments that I've heard tonight and also online and elsewhere. There's a lot of very valid questions, right? Last night I spoke with the Bryant Park Neighborhood Association, for example, and many of the people there, they had some really good and important questions that need to be answered. And usually in this process, and I think, you know, I can appreciate the comment or the notion that maybe this is going a little fast for our liking. And, you know, there's a reason for that. I'm reminded that maybe it's because I'm the only Floridian sitting up here, but, you know, Florida's history is just ripe with developers coming to town and saying, everything, you know, you need us because we're gonna save your town as long as you let us do, well, whatever that is. And, you know, I'm not saying they're always wrong. I'm not saying developers are the enemy, but, usually we have to do our due diligence and take those promises with a grain of salt, right? And that's what this process is. And usually, if this was like a planned development process or something, you know, to that liking, usually we would have data like our parking study and all those things kind of laid out beforehand while we consider this. I tend to kind of agree that it seems a little bit rushed. I don't necessarily think that there's anything inherently nefarious going on or anything like that. It's more honestly, maybe, you know, for my own sake, I have a 15-month-old and we have to read a lot very quickly these weeks. And so sleep is, you know, it's not usually the priority at night, but you know, I guess what I'm getting at is there is a process and there's often a notion of, you know, if we ask questions, if we demand of something that we're just trying to delay the project or get in the way, and that's simply not the case. I mean, all of us do that to some degree. Like at the last meeting, Vice Mayor Malego had what I thought was a really great suggestion, which is making the 15 to 20 year change, right? And, you know, I often wonder what would the response, I think that was a great idea, brave of her to ask that. Because I feel like if I asked that or if Commissioner McGloy asked that, the reception would be different because that ask was a significant change to their financial planning. I mean, that's a 1/3 increase in the duration of a financial burden that they didn't even really want to do in the first place, right? They didn't want to do affordable units. And asking for that big change on a whim, obviously, you know, Jesse's online or Renee's online. She, you know, wasn't going to do an on-whim calculation. You can't. That's a really significant financial change. But what I'm getting at is we make those asks all the time. And generally speaking, we do want more time and more data to go over. So I, you know, definitely see that it's pretty clear that that is not maybe in the interest of majority here, but generally speaking, I do like to have more time to review things. I am doing my due diligence. It is a lot to go through, going over the draft parking plan, everything else that's involved. You know, it's a tall order for us to go through, and there's a lot to do and there's a lot to be done. I'm supportive of this. I think, you know, partnership, like them or not, public-private partnerships, they're the way to go. I don't know if you've paid attention to our budget process, but we're not exactly flush with cash. We're not, you know, we're not doing terribly, but we're not also in an amazing spot either. And so when we look at improving our public areas, we're gonna need investors. And you know, public-private partnerships, I think we've all been critical of them up here. But it's not, again, it's not something to be against. I think it's something, I've said it before, once you see those 3 Ps, it's not something that you run in terror. It's something that you should probably have a long list of questions just to make sure. And where we're at in this process, that's why I was really adamant about asking every step of the way that we have a really clear and concise thing on what exactly it is that we're voting on. Not necessarily for our sake, although sometimes we need a reminder, but for the public's sake to know where we're at. Because I have very strong concerns about this garage, right? And its location is, I think, maybe okay. I think there's some issues that, you know, I think we're gonna have to really discuss and work through, but we're not there in that process yet, right? I have big concerns about the ingress egress of this garage when we close that street, for example. It's a one-way street, but we're just not there. Like, what we're looking at right now is this partnership going to potentially be good for the community and
Sorry, Madam Mayor, that's 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz.
Close enough.
Close enough. Okay, by voting tonight that we find that this is a public, has a public purpose in this process, gives us the opportunity to ask the questions that everyone's posing. I think it's sort of interesting that there are folks out there that think we won't be asking those questions, that we're just gonna go and go, yeah, it sounds good. Of course, but this is the beginning of that process. This gives us the opportunity to move forward in an organized fashion. So we're not committing to a design or money or anything else. If things don't work out and it doesn't come to fruition, can we walk away? We can walk away. So this is just keeping us going on our process. And in terms of the parking, the resident, I have said it every time we've had a conversation about paid parking downtown or parking garages. I'm gonna strongly advocate that there's like, if you get a beach sticker, that residential parking would be at a lower cost, that the residents would be given some consideration to the parking rates. You know, but again, we're still in those very preliminary things. So again, this is not a commitment, this is, let's keep just going forward to find out what we've done. So I am in favor of this. Madam Clerk,
Yes, Madam Mayor.
do you have any idea how much total where we are in terms of the 30 minutes?
You have 8 minutes and 22 seconds left.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you everybody else 2 minutes. Mr. McFloy.
Thank you. I had some clarifying questions for the attorney. The 5 factors that we're supposed to consider, several of them are not particularly relevant or seem to be kind of neutral. Benefits to the public, I would assume that has to think pretty broadly of implications that whatever the item that's being proposed, how it relates to other things happening in the city. Benefits to the public would include, is this competing for funds that we do not have a lot of extra funds? That might be an element that comes into that. Is it going to in fact force us to paid parking, and have we evaluated whether paid parking is a net benefit for our city, given that we're the only city around that doesn't have paid parking? So I would think that the question of benefits and declaration or determination of public benefit is, one could construe that as being fairly broad. If it ought to be included, but what range of things. So comment on that, and then I have a follow-up.
Yes, you're correct in that. I think the intent of the factors to consider, all 5 of them, are fairly broad strokes of just general thoughts that you should consider in moving forward in any project, whether it's unsolicited proposal or otherwise. So yes, they can be very broad. Keep in mind, it's just factors to be considered. It doesn't mean you got to check off all 5 factors. It doesn't mean that you can't say, well, we considered other factors that are supportive or not supportive of this project. It's just what the statute says should be considered.
Well, I might push back a little, because the item or section D3 says the commission's findings based on each considered factor. And the report says provide a statement that explains why the proposal should proceed and addresses such comments, meaning the public comments. So one additional question for you is, the public comments that were made today, are they part of the public comments that need to be addressed?
If the commission desires to add to the resolution to specifically address public comments, that's certainly within the commission's purview. Obviously, we had to draft the resolution 2 weeks before today's meeting to get it out in the agenda. So it's drafted based on some of the initial comments you heard at the October 15th meeting. If you'd like to add to that, we can certainly add to that.
Well,
The other thing to keep in mind, in submitting the quote unquote report, which is really the resolution, the reference to this entire meeting, including its availability online, will be referenced in that registry so that anyone can go and listen to all the comments that
But
are.
what I'm reading is the responsible public entity, the commission, must not, be a good idea, maybe you ought to do it. It says must provide a statement that explains why the proposal should proceed and addresses such comments. I had a concern when you mentioned that the statement that we will submit is the resolution that we prepared before the public has even been heard. That does not seem to me consistent with what I'm reading in the statute. I would say that at least our statement has to do what it says, explains why.
Mayor, that's 2
proposal
minutes.
proceed,
Thank you.
And addresses those public
Okay,
comments.
Mr. McMillan, stop it, does anybody else have, we have a couple, how many more minutes do we have? Like 5 minutes, 3 minutes?
You're down to 5 minutes and 10 seconds.
What is counting? So if you want to, but we're, Ms. oh, first, we have Ms. Miller.
Hi, thank you. So I'm reading. the
Let
staff
us know,
report.
Madam Clerk, when we get to 28 minutes, 29 minutes.
The front of the staff report that says number 5, public comments submitted at the meeting will be part of. So everything that we've heard is going to go into this. Everything that was read on the records, read by the mayor, and read by each person on the public, correct? Okay, thank you. I just want clarification.
Ms. May?
I was just going to,
I turn on my light instead of the microphone. I was going to give my 2 minutes to, Mr. McFoy if he wants to finish with,
Okay.
the mayor, the attorney to answer.
Okay, that's fine. Just keep an eye on our time, please, Madam Clerk, and call it when we're done.
And again, reading the language from the statute.
For her to
For her to
answer
answer.
your previous question.
No, you've asked a
You had
question.
just asked a question and
Ms. May,
Yeah,
you
the addresses such comments,
What's
that
for the end?
strikes me as a very specific, not just kind of,
Okay,
well, there was.
We're
public
waiting for
comment.
the lawyer to answer your question.
That's my question.
Well, you're considering 5 factors, correct? Inclusive of public comments. The first 4 factors are really what you're determining. So the first 4 factors really are to address the public comments because you're really considering all 5 things. So ideally, your public comment addressed the first 4 factors. So the resolution was drafted in a way to address the first 4 factors and then be inclusive of the comments provided at tonight's agenda, at tonight's meeting. We can't draft a resolution before a meeting to address public comments that are going to come at the meeting. So like I said, if you want to specifically address any public comment that was made tonight that's outside of those 4 factors, you can just give me that information. We're happy to amend the resolution. And like I said, that will be what gets advertised.
I definitely, because I'm not reading the statute that way at all. I'm reading that the statute would not allow that the statement be written before the meetings have happened. It says addresses such comments, meaning the public comments. So you don't know what those public comments are before you receive them. It's not appropriate that we have written our statement. It's pre-stacked before we've heard. And it's not just the 4, it says the following factors, the 5. And it specifically refers to that in D, that the public, and based on each considered factor, which are the 5. So I have a real problem with the idea that we have pre-written our report and we're more or less not addressing when it says must address.
If you would like to make a motion to recommend amending that section of the resolution that addresses public comment, I'm happy to take that based on the commission's majority decision of the matter.
I make a motion
Well, right
that
now we have a
we follow
pending,
the,
wait, excuse me, Mr. McCoy, right now we have a pending motion to approve the resolution. So what do we do with that?
I think
If he
Mr.
wants-
Diaz hasn't had his minutes yet, has he? Oh, was he, yeah, he did, okay.
No, you got 2 more.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the follow, I think 2 thoughts are being shared here and maybe there isn't full alignment because I am, also looking at the statute and it does say all 5 must be considered at the meeting, where we make this determination. So I think, to Commissioner McVoy's credit, what he's saying is, the resolution that we're voting on, like what is the standard practice? Because obviously to have a backup, you want to have something up there. Maybe the resolution should have said draft or whatever it may be. But what is the standard practice? Do we generally make changes on the whim to factor in all the comments we just heard? Or is there like a general statement that we can put in that says, we heard comments that are considered and, will be considered throughout future proceedings? Like what?
I have, Madam Clerk, where are we with time?
You're at a minute.
We're out of minutes.
No, you have 1 minute left.
We have 1 minute. Ms. May has a,
I just wanted to state for the record that I didn't hear anything new tonight that we didn't hear 2 weeks ago. So if we made this resolution based on the comments that we heard 2 weeks ago, I think it still stands to be true.
we've had a lot of public input. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to call, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Mr. McBoy, it's 4-1. Mr. McBoy is the name.
Yes, and I make a motion that we in fact follow the letter of the statute and make sure that our report is written after and takes full account, as it says, addresses the public comments that have been received.
And I think our lawyer has said that's been,
Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
I.
Okay, now switching hats.
I believe, Madam Mayor, that motion was made when I had a motion on the table.
Was there a second for Mr. McBoy? What was your motion?
There was not. I did not hear a second.
You didn't give any time
I
for a
didn't call
second.
for
because
it.
you
Was
let
there a
somebody else.
second? What is your motion?
My motion is that our report required by the statute addresses the public comments as part of why the proposal should or should not proceed.
Well, I mean, that you, doing a motion, the lawyers already said they're gonna do that, but is there a second to that motion? Call for a second? The motion fails. Okay, so we are now switching hats to the utilities. I think we're going to take a comfort break and we'll be right back. Thank you.
I can hear you now, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Good evening, once again. Welcome to the City of Lake Worth Beach Utility City Commission meeting of Tuesday, October 29th, 2024. Can we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Betty Rush,
Here.
Vice Mayor Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McVoy,
That's the one, and he's here.
Commissioner Mimi May,
I'm here too.
Commissioner Ronaldo Diaz.
Present.
Good, nobody snuck out. I think let's waive the second pledge of allegiance. I think we pledged tonight for.
Thank you.
We have two presentations. First from Vaughn.
Madam Mayor, can we move something on the agenda real quick?
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna do the presentations first, but that's.
No, I just wanted to if we could,
Well, it's on the consent agenda, but I've been speaking with our staff. And they want to all come up and thank us. They don't really want to comment. They want to thank. So I indicated that they could come up on the public participation of non-agenda items, and then we can just pass the consent agenda.
okay, so we're just gonna keep it on
We're
consent.
keeping our consent and give them the opportunity on non-agenda items to come up and give their statements.
Fantabulous.
Okay, but we do have new business C is a duplicate, apparently an identical duplicate of this this grant. So I think we can strike item C because it's on the consent agenda as well.
No.
No, there was an issue.
Item.
It's a different item.
It's a different.
Yeah, sorry, there was an issue with titling and we corrected it and we sent out a revised agenda.
Oh, okay. I didn't- Okay, all right. Okay, so folks, you're gonna have a chance in just a second to come up. And I know that the water utility update is not really extensive tonight. And Ms. Vaughn. She's gonna come by Zoom tonight. She was here earlier. She had some.
She is on Zoom.
I see her. Well, I see her name.
Hello, Von Hayduck, Water Utilities. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. So the update tonight is pretty quick. One thing that is great news to share is I know that I'd spoken at a previous meeting about the EPA lead service line inventory project that we were at the time conducting that investigation. And we are officially designated as no lead. So that is great news. A part of the EPA requirement is to keep a hard copy of that inventory on file, which I actually just dropped off to Shayla about an hour and a half ago. So there is a copy at City Hall if anybody's curious to see the methodology and the full inventory behind that. But we are designated no lead. And other than that, we have the lift stations rehab project out to bid. Bids are due in a couple of weeks. And then to talk about the force main break, which should be old news by now. But we had a very productive phone call with the DEP yesterday where they still had a lot of questions about our record drawings that were provided to AT&T versus what they were showing on their permits and what the contractor was doing versus what the design called for them to do. It seemed like we all have a very good understanding of what happened, which hopefully will work in our favor moving forward because we need it to be explicitly clear that we don't bear responsibility in that. And other than that, there's not much to talk about tonight. Lots of ongoing projects. So if you guys had any questions.
We have no questions, but we have our thanks for our lead-free water. Thank you. Our water has always been good. I've lived here over 45 years and I've always had water. Great. So,
well, I can't take credit for the no lead, but I'm very happy to share the news.
Well, we appreciate that you did. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Okay. Mr. Liberty, is your update lengthy or not?
Oh, I can try to keep it short.
Hey, that's not fair.
Not very rarely do you say something that I might be thinking, but I was like, can't rush that.
It's not impossible.
Because it is, and because we do have the kid, we'd like to get the kids out of here.
Why don't we have the kids come up first and I'll yield for a little bit and come back. I'm okay with that.
Motion to restart slightly and motion to give Mr. Liberty the time that he needs.
Don't do that. Okay, so now we're on. Oh, maybe I think I've lost control. Now we're on public participation of non-agenda items. I know that there's a public comment from Ms. Silverblatt on the web, but we have a wonderful group of children and adults who support those children, and we'd like to have them come. Tonight, on our business, tonight, come on up. Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
A little red thing will go on. There you go. You got it.
She is the right name for that one. So tonight, we have, it sounds very official, the U.S. Environmental Protection, the EPA, the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights, Environmental and Climate Justice Community Change Grants Program. We are here to approve this tonight, and I would like to have the, Ms. Reggie give us some talking to.
Okay, on behalf of the Healthier Lakewood Beach for the children, of both in all of our partners, and all of my family and children here, I want to say thank you to all of you for investing in Lakewood. This is a very historic moment. For a long time, we spent a little money in the north side, more money spent on the north side, but a little money on the south side. And with this grant, we'll be able to make a very gigantic step toward making sure every citizen has a vibrant community to live in, play, and have fun. Therefore, I want to say thank you to each one of you for making this possible.
Great.
And this has been wonderful, especially Alisa. And
Alisa,
Mr.
yes.
Waters. Yeah, Mr. Waters is so wonderful.
I also, hi Carmel, with Healthier Lakewood Beach. I also want to say that you all know that for the past 8 years, the residents, we all have been working together to improve the environment conditions of Lakewood Beach. So it's something that the community, the residents, and all of our local partners have been investing in for a long time. And all this, we're doing for better health. And if this gets approved, this is going to be just like Reggie said, it's going to be very monumental for the community. In continuing the work that we are doing, expanding it, and also just make life better for all the residents of Lakewood Beach.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick.
I'm just gonna say this, thank you guys for your support. Thank you for all the help that you've been giving us, and I'm gonna say, when this is approved, then you guys are gonna see how, and no question, this is a wonderful project that's gonna improve our community and hopefully expand outwards when folks see the wonderful work and the impact that it has had in the city, in this wonderful city of Lakewood Beach. So thank you guys again.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yep, I see.
Hi, I'm Christine Raymond from Extraordinary Charities. We are the statutory partner on this grant. And I just want to say that this is the prime example of partnership. This is the way that partnership should work. We've been fortunate enough in Extraordinary Charities to work with For the Children, Healthier Lakewood Beach, and all these incredible organizations. And I'm so excited to see what the power of collaboration can do in this instance. I think it will be a game changer for the city of Lakewood Beach. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to say anything? All right. We really know there was gratitude to all the folks, the adults that help our kids. Love you.
Madam Mayor.
We're gonna get started. Yes. Thank you.
Now I can take the time.
We're not done.
He said, like, oh, right.
I had a late lunch. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so,
Just real brief, I think we ought to give a real shout out both to Ed, but especially Alyssa. Alyssa works for Ed in the electric utility, but she happens to be a genius at finding and working on grants. And she's been very proactive of looking for opportunities to match organizations, to make this happen. That's a pretty big deal, and thank you to both Alyssa and Ed for making that happen.
absolutely, thank you. Now, we're gonna do, let's do public participation of non-agenda items, since we just did that. I noticed does anybody else have a card? Are there any cards for, okay, Madam Clerk, I know that there's a card, at least one comment from the public, on a non-agenda item.
It is actually for item A.
Oh, all right. Oh, okay. All right. So then, Mr. Liberty. Don't take advantage.
And good evening. For the record, Ed Liberty, Electric Utility Director. I have to say that I think I get less than 1% of the credit. My involvement was really to assign Alyssa to work on this and be supportive. It was the creativity of Alyssa and the team that really got this done. They kept me informed, but I can't take credit for having been there, sleeves rolled up for doing the work, but they did a great job.
So it's good to give credit where credit is due.
Okay, let's touch on the things for electric utility we'll go through. First of all, we had a mild inconvenience by the name of Milton that passed through. So we had a storm event. We did declare an emergency during that period of time for about, I don't think it was as much as 48 hours, 24 to 36 hours or so. We were under a state of emergency with electric utility because of the large outages that we had. Fortunately, the largest of the outages, the most inconvenient ones, really happened at night. So many people didn't even know that it actually happened, or they thought it was localized just to them. But the system operations team and a few other people I mentioned in a minute did a fantastic job of recovering the system from zero and bringing everything back up, in many cases within a few minutes. We did ultimately discover what the cause of that was. I won't get into technical detail, but we're 99.9% sure we figured out finally what did it. It's a really crazy electrical anomaly. We can talk about it on the side. It's not a secret, but it will go into too much detail.
Well, that's okay. I got a text at 2:30 in the morning, got a text at 2:30, saying the electricity is out and you made it worse. So I didn't really know how I contributed to that.
It was not a hairdryer that did, I can tell you that. We got some ionized air that did it. But I do want to give a shout out for all the people that worked really hard through that process. So during that state of emergency, our linemen performed admirably. We had quite a few of our linemen that worked well beyond the 16-hour limit and into the 20-hour plus range. And we also had a lot of other utility folks that basically slept at their desks or got a few hours of sleep and back into the control room or back on the road. So the hardest work that was done, of course, is by the linemen. They're not in the air-conditioned control room. They're out there in the weather, in the rain and the wind late at night doing this work. So shout out to them. Also to our substation team that worked through that, power plant team that got the power plant units going when we needed them. And we did have two other cities which sent people to help us. Key West sent a crew to help us. By the time they got here, we had turned the corner and we didn't quite need them. So they went on to help other customers in the state that needed help. City of Homestead sent two crews here and we put them to work. They responded on very short notice and rolled their trucks here to help us out. So you may not have seen them here, may not know they were here, but the City of Homestead and Key West. So if you're going to go on vacation, go south, please support the merchants in those towns, the Homestead and Key West for the support they gave us. One of the not most impressive, but very impressive one, we actually called on a former employee at 4:30 in the morning. I woke him up. He's a consulting engineer who lives nearby, and we were at the point where I needed more input, needed a free, fresh mind to think through the problems we were seeing to assist us. So I'll give a shout out to here now. He started his career here with us, did a great job, went on to even better things and bigger things, but he came right back. He took that phone call at about 4:30 in the morning. He was here on the property about 45 minutes later. And he worked through the day and into the next night with David Martinup and Warner Patterson on the transmission side, troubleshooting this really interesting problem that we had. And they solved it. So thank you to George and his company, United Utility, for supporting us. Next is the canal project. So the second interconnection, which, by the way, if we'd had the second interconnection during the storm, we might not have had the result. We would have had the problem, but not the same result. We would have had a different outcome. But that project is moving along. We had a series of what we will call really heavy lifts. We had poles that we had to set. These poles are about 135 feet long, much of that going in the ground, and weigh about 30 tons. We had to lift them about 70 feet in the air to thread the needle and drop them into place. It's part of the moves that we're making on our transmission line. That's impressive when you see a 400-ton crane with trucks of counterweights lined up to help support it so it can make the lift. I think what's more impressive is it took about 2 years probably to get the system in a condition where we could reroute power and do the switching that we needed to do to take that out of service and get through that 2-week period. So many of you don't know that we were on the edge for about 2 weeks electrically while this work was going on. We took the transmission line down to canal, cut it free, lifted it out of the way. Some of our contractor crews worked weekends. They worked in the rain, which they typically don't do. It was safe, but they did work in the rain and got that system back. So thank you to them. Florida Power Light is chugging along on their work. Most, if not all, of their poles almost all of their poles are set. They have a lot of wire that's been pulled. Unfortunately, the contractor crews that they rely on have gone to chase storms, which they were needed in other parts of the state. We understand that. So they'll lose a little bit of time in their schedule. So we're probably looking at late December, early January right now for energization. So we'll keep it posted on that, but it's coming along well. Solar, we're flowing test power from FMPA Solar 2. Brian gave me an update as of October 17th. We've started flowing test power. Not a lot of power, but they're checking out the systems, making sure everything works, and that's going well. So we'll hear a little bit more tonight. We're going to talk about the consent agenda. It'll hopefully go right through. But Florida Atlantic University has received a grant from the DOE related to ocean current energy. A portion of that is earmarked for work that we have to do as a part of that study. FAU has released their press release on the subject. We'll probably release one as well. The more publicity we can get around this project, the better, to try and have that project become reality. So that's a big step forward, but we have a lot more work to do to see that come to reality. And so for tonight, you'll have a few critical items. We do want to talk about PCA. You'll not be voting on a PCA tonight, but you'll see that we're going to need to at some point very soon in the future. We do have items in here. We're going to talk about our own grant where we have to formally accept the grant from the DOE for the $23+ million. So we'll get to that. So at this point, that ends my comments. I'll turn it back over to Mike.
Thank you very much. So, let's have the approval of, we still have public participation to do. Madam Clerk, I believe there's at least one non-agenda item of public comment.
No, she said that's.
Yeah, it's new business,
Oh,
item A.
all right, I keep thinking, all right. Okay. So, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unfinished business A, PCA quarterly update.
Good evening. I'm going to use my lifeline and ask Brian to come up. Brian King, our Assistant Director, Power Generation and Power Delivery. And the punchline is that we're eroding our rate stabilization fund. So the expenses are coming in a little bit higher than we expected. So we're eating into our fund balance for rate stabilization fund. That's not the end of the world. We're still in a healthy position. The good news is that we got through this summer by using the rate stabilization fund and not applying rate shock to our customers to raise the rate. But we do see that we're on a trajectory where sometime in the next couple of months, we're going to need to make an adjustment to the PCA to stop the erosion and kind of level the curve. It looks like natural gas prices are going up slightly, although recently oil prices did back off a little bit. So I think natural gas prices may back off a little bit. We're going to start receiving some solar power, but Brian has done some research on this, and I'll turn it over to Brian to walk you through the numbers, which are in the agenda packet, and, and give you the punchline. Again, you're not being asked to make it.
These are normally funny.
Yeah.
This isn't funny.
This isn't fun. But we're the fourth or fifth lowest priced utility in the state at the moment. And not that that means we want to raise rates because we're on the low side, but we have to keep an eye on this and make an adjustment probably in a couple of months, but I'll let Brian get into this.
Good evening. Yeah, so as you can see, the PCA numbers again coming in slightly more on the expenses than the revenues.
I'm sorry, Brian, can you speak into the mic a little bit?
I'm sorry, is that better?
You're gonna have to shrink down about 6 inches.
Yes, we need the microphones for the 6 foot plus guys. So you can see that the PCA is obviously the expenses are coming in a bit higher than the revenues. We've seen that trend for a couple of months. As Ed did mention, the fund still remains healthy. We still have well over $1 million in funds available. You'll see the rate stabilization fund, since we haven't moved dollars off of there yet, you'll see that's still over 2 million. But total funds available is what you'll see on the total PCA fund balance sheet, which is page 5. And that's just over $1 million that we have available. That counts in the losses for this month of September, and that's what we have left moving forward. So I think there will be a time relatively soon in the next couple of months, as Ed says, we'll crunch the numbers and figure it out if we need to adjust the PCA, but the trends are showing that we'll probably have to adjust it. Again, as Ed mentioned, the good news is if there's positive years that, we kept rates low for the heating season or the hot season, which would be the cooling season, all the air conditioners run. So our residents did get a break on the PCA. We didn't go ahead and just raise it. And if we raise it in the winter time, or if you decide to raise it in the winter time, we'll have some snowbirds here, we'll have some tourists down here, and so that they'll pay a majority or a portion of that PCA adjustment. That should help replenish that one.
I'll also point out as a part of this, some of you have been on the dais as we chased the curve in the past on this, is that this is basically done on a cash basis. So we've paid the bills for the period of time when the volumes of energy were very high and the prices were higher. So we had higher capacity because we had to buy more capacity. All of the revenue associated with that comes off the meter reads, and then the billing lag between the time that the meter gets read, customer gets billed, and then the cash finally comes in the door. That's usually probably 30 to 60 days, could be a little bit more. So all of the revenues associated with our expenses haven't come in yet. That means that we'll see a lag there, but now we're entering a period when the volumes are lower because we're driving air conditioning much lower, and we should see a little bit of a catch up. That doesn't mean that we're going to reverse the curve just by waiting, but I think it'll slow the decline. And what we'll see over the next couple of months is the opportunity to figure out what that number would be to kind of level the curve, and then see if we can get a build going that at least level it.
And with the solar, when that comes online, again, that's a new price. It's isolated from the very fuel prices or anything.
I see Mr. Diaz's line is on. Bob, original one.
I guess I just want to highlight, well, at least the fund is doing what it's intended, so which is I think a good thing. And I know it's a little bit of a pop quiz, so if you don't have the answer, that's okay. But I'm curious, when you do these calculations, do you look at like how much it would have cost customers if we didn't have the rate stabilization fund?
If we didn't have the rate stabilization fund,
Yeah, like if we didn't have to eat into it a little bit and we passed on what we're seeing in the graph, the PCA expense, like, do you know how much that would be per customer? I know it's like a pop quiz, so.
yeah, I mean, it's not a huge number. You're
Yeah.
talking about anywhere between $3 and $4 per
Yeah.
1,000 kilowatts. It's not a huge.
Right, but we often, I mean, usually when, we spend a lot of time making those decisions on whether or not we're gonna raise or lower $3 or $4. So it's still not it's not insignificant. So I just, I think that's something to highlight and to be kind of proud of that. Hey, it's doing just what we thought it was gonna do. So yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Mr. McCoy?
Couple questions. One, you mentioned, either of you, I'm sure know, what has natural gas been running around $2, $3,
Below $2, $2.20 this month.
So it's still pretty low.
But what about over the past months delivered with basis? The average of the daily prices have been up around $3.50 or so, right?
On the monthly average, not the last couple of weeks.
Right.
Like, probably 250 maybe.
But the monthly average is what drives the PCA and the power bill.
Yeah.
But we are seeing days when it's come down quite a bit, but the monthly averages were up there in the mid threes.
I guess what I'm trying to get sort of an idea, I'm looking at the actual PCA dollars.
Commissioner Big Boy, can you speak into your mic, please?
Sorry, I can't look at my screen and walk and chew gum and speak into the mic all at once. No gum. Looking at let's see, page 3, the PCA dollars per megawatt hour, it's, just sort of eyeballing it. It does seem like it's a little higher for the last, say, since April, roughly, maybe May. Is there any particular reason for that?
Yes. Yes, we were buying additional capacity under the contract. We had a unit unavailable and we had to buy additional capacity.
Because of Stanton being down?
No, not because of Stanton, but because of our own unit here at the power plant, which we use for capacity purposes. Had a problem with a 138 kV cable, which took time to replace the cable, do the terminations and get it commissioned back in service. So during that period of time, we were buying more capacity because that unit was not available.
And that's one of those squirrely things about electric stuff, is that even though if you look at the Collin Power Plant fuel, most of the time we're at 0, so we're not running it. And the amount of fuel that we use, 10K, 6K, 3K is pretty small. It is still a part of our portfolio, because having it available to run or not having it available to run, people say, well, you don't have capacity to feed in the grid, so we're going to charge you.
Right, so there's
something to be said for keeping it running.
Right.
Or keeping it available.
Keeping it available, so exactly, so for the benefit of the public and commissioners, there are really, we always think about energy as one thing, which is what you get when you turn a light on. But there's really 2 components there. One is the capacity to make that energy, and the other is the actual energy you make. So typically we're paying for energy that we use, but people forget that, well, I forget, many people are not aware. We also have to pay for capacity. That means we have to pay to have a power plant available to make the energy for us. And under the rules of the pool, which is not unusual around the country, we typically carry about 15% more than we actually might need at any point in time. That gives us the ability to have a cushion, to not have a lights go out, to always have something there that can make power for you. So capacity costs money and energy costs money. So we rely on some of our units for capacity, not for their energy because they're too expensive to run, but they're there for capacity. If they have to, in other words, if you're short on energy, you have to run them.
Or if they get dispatched, somebody else wants.
Correct, which we have been dispatched in the past. And by the way, those dispatch dollars were credited to PCA when the dollars come in. So we have run for the pool at times.
And to that end, where are we on the cable and stretching it, and clipping on a connector? I've got some connectors that.
Right.
They're
It's
probably good though.
It's available again, right?
Yes, that we did test that unit, we commissioned that cable, that unit. Cool.
So that should help us out a little bit.
Correct.
And for today, delivered gas today was 217. and for the month, it's
For this month, so, right. But for the prior months that we were looking at,
right here at 2, yeah.
3 and change, so gas prices have come off.
Okay, thank you.
We're somewhat optimistic that gas prices will not get out of control because storage levels that are at near record highs. It's looking, pretty good at the moment for nationally in terms of supply for anticipated demand.
Would a cold winter or unusually cold winter, let's say, would that potentially affect that?
It would, an unusually cold winter would certainly affect that. And just as a
Unusually hot was what hit us a couple of years ago.
Yeah, the unusually hot, it certainly does affect it, but the fact that we fortunately did not have storms that shut down many of the rigs in the Gulf, so that the production was able to keep up and storage levels remained pretty high. So we're nationally, we're in a good storage situation heading into the winter.
Thank you.
So the punchline there is, over the next couple of months, we're going to watch this, but we could be looking at a PCA rate increase of about $3 to $4 per month on a 1,000 kilowatt hour customer.
Oh, and one last, where are we now, as far as our ranking in the state? We were around 4 or 5 at one point.
We're down around 4th or 5th right now.
Pretty good.
I'll check that again.
And I think you need to say that more loudly so that people who don't believe us.
Well, let me first make sure that I'm getting the number right. I'll just look online right now while we're talking.
I mean, that is pretty remarkable that
People won't believe it anyway, so.
I'm finding people are a little bit less disbelieving than they used to. be. So that's somewhat progress.
We're talking to the right people now.
I'll give you an answer to that in just a second. Number 4
Fourth in the state.
out of 37. Now, we all know we're going up for our base rate increase and the storm fund, but that's coming in November and in December.
But we'll still be good.
Right, we know that others are going up. The neighboring utility has announced they have about $1.2 billion of storm costs to recover from their customers, so that will happen in 2025, and that certainly will happen around the state as well. And other utilities are entering their capital programs and things that we started a number of years ago. They're approaching those as well. They're making their rate adjustments. So that's happening.
And when we move to the storm thing, that will be a line item on the bill.
Yes, in fact, the customer service informed me today that they are ready to go with the November 1. And now they're going to start unloading resetting the billing mechanism to have the December 1 storm fund begin.
Yes, ma'am.
Just quickly, I just wanted to point out that we are pretty much very ahead of the curve, because when I was at the Florida League of Cities, EMO 2, this weekend, Institute number 2. Anyway, there were cities that didn't even know what the storm fund was, or the, the questions were very basic, and I'm like, oh, I actually know this stuff. So thank you for that. And we are ahead though of other cities, and you are very well known and well renowned. So thank you for your service to our city.
Thank you. I will add that I should have mentioned this too. We did have a rather lengthy conversation with Fitch, the rating agency, which not focused necessarily on us. They rate the FMPA St. Lucie project bonds. They did have a lengthy discussion with us about a month ago. There's no written report. The impression is the feedback because they don't rate us, they're not going to write a report on us, but they seem to be okay with the direction we're going in. There's no change up or down in the rating of those bonds. And so I take that as a win that we've improved. They did want to hear a lot about our storm fund, the condition of our rate increases, and how we're doing on fund balance and our year-to-date pro forma, which is non-GAAP, non-audited results. They seemed to be impressed. I'm guessing they didn't say they were unimpressed, but it was a good call. So I'm inferring from the fact that there's no change in the rating that we're okay.
Well, thank you and your entire staff for the hard work. I mean, during the storm, we're all snug in our little homes while you guys are out there. Your guys are out there battling the weather. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please extend that.
We will. As a matter of fact, there is a luncheon for them. HR has arranged on Friday at Grimes Park.
This Friday?
Yes. A food truck, yes, and you should all get an email on that.
Cool.
For not just for electric utility. Water did a great job. They went through this talk as well as Public Works did as well. So it was not just about the electric utility in the storm. A lot of people worked.
And it'll be at over there.
Harold Grimes Park.
Oh, great. Oh, good. Thank you.
I'll send some out here.
Okay, thanks. All right, so thank you very much for that update. And Jamie has a slide on.
I did want to say, even though he'll never say something, but I did want to thank Ed, because he was very active. The phone calls were very quick. They were coming in around 2:15, 2:30, and then I ran and got the phone, and he'd call right back. And like, I'm just gonna go into. he was driving, he was heading in. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna get to sleep.
Yeah, right.
I tried, and I'm like, it's just not gonna happen.
Everybody.
So I do want to thank him, because it's one of those things that, he's not someone to just sit at home who can just wait for people to call with updates. He's here right alongside everyone else.
We're here too,
He's
so
not-
thank you.
But he's not gonna say it, so I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to thank him publicly for that, so.
Thank you very much. And Jamie, everybody, and how lucky were we?
Yeah.
So fortunate. New business. A Sunset Ridge Park Court resurfacing the site. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I think we have public comment on this one. Is this the one I keep trying to get you?
This is the one.
It is, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Commissioner McVoy was the second, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't know if that's allowed since it's right in front of my house, but. Sure.
Would you like me to do public comment now, Madam Mayor?
I would love it.
Okay. The public comment I have is from Gail Silverblatt, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Thank you for resurfacing the courts at Sunset Ridge Park. We have been playing pickleball for a few months on these courts and have blamed the cracks in the surface as an excuse for not playing well. Now we will have to find another excuse for our inability to hit the ball within the court area. We're slowly improving and have lots of fun. Is there a time frame for resurfacing? That is the only comment I have on any items tonight.
So what, do we have time? Oh, Ms. McKenzie. And I want to thank Ms. McKay while she's up here for the outstanding job that she and her staff did Friday night for screening.
Kate McKay, Director of Legal Services. Thank you.
We just need to get lights in that area next year.
Yes, we're having a SWAT tomorrow.
No,
We're gonna have that.
Great.
The team did a really great job on that. So, oh, yeah, very important for wrap up. The timeline of the project will be as soon as this is approved, we'll get moving on it.
Oh.
There you go.
So soon.
What do you want?
Yes, as soon as possible. We understand there's a need for permanent pickleballs and the courts, the basketball court and the tennis courts to be resurfaced. So as soon as we have approval, we will get moving.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor? Aye.
And I'd just like to thank, I've had a lot of public input from people. I know there's interest in tennis, there's a lot of interest in pickleball. So I'm glad that we're moving. We're keeping some of the tennis, but we're also formalizing some of the pickleball, if I understand correctly.
Yes, we are going to keeping the 3 tennis courts, the basketball court, and then we're transforming the two of the tennis courts into 6 pickleball permanent courts. So
Yeah.
we'll be inviting you to the ribbon cutting pickleball clinic. Look forward to seeing you there.
I went to Lakewood Pool Home. Pickleball. So we have a motion second. We have all in favor. We did that. All right. Thank you very much. I think we did. Yep. Okay, B, written services agreement with Blackwood Solutions LLC for the transportation and delivery of ductile from iron utility pole.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor? Aye. Thanks very much.
are these the same ones or similar to ones you were just mentioning, 30-ton and?
No. I'm sorry, these are smaller than those, but still heavier than our own equipment can pick up. And they're coming all the way from Ohio. So this is a great contract for us because they're poles we can't deliver and we can't unload when they get here. So they'll deliver them to the staging areas that are closest to the jobs. And then as our own crews or contractor crews need them, they'll have the heavier equipment or the crane to pick them up and move them to the final job site. So it's being able to stage poles close to the work is important, but there's not a lot of property in the city. And if we deliver them all in one place, then we're kind of stuck if we can't even pick them up.
Yeah.
So.
Cool, thank you. C, Department of Energy Grid Deployment Office Grid Resilience and Innovation Partnership. Do I have a motion?
To approve.
Do I have a second? Good. I'm overwhelmed with motions and seconds. Pick one, somebody. Who was the second? Ronaldo. Where Mr. Diaz was the second. All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll pass it unanimously. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.